How we do is all right. I'm not quite sure what the guard's going to do. They might march down here in a moment. If so, I will stop while they take a photograph. Because I know when they're on the march, nobody listens to me. But I just don't know what they're doing. Right, come on, we'll keep going until something happens. Behind me is the private execution place. There's only the friends of the royalty that were beheaded here. There were 6 altogether. I didn't have a lot of friends. But before I tell you about the executions, I'll tell you where everything is. If you go down here, we'll take you into the Bloody Tower. Before she was executed here, William Penn was in there. So he was kicked out to one of our smaller colonies, where he founded. Here's the guard come in. Do you want to take a photograph? Welsh Guards. There's 5 Guards regiments. Grenadiers, Scots, Grenadiers, Coldstream, Scots, Irish and Welsh. Where did I get to? 1605, 5th of November, Guy Fawkes. He was the man who tried to blow up the king. He was brought here, he was questioned in there. He would not give the names of his accomplices until he was racked in the basement of the White Tower. The last prisoner to be held there was Rudolf Hess in May 1941. At that time he was the Deputy Führer of Germany. Now the second blue door down is the house number 5, Tower Green. And it's here that Lady Jane Grey was kept for those 7 months before she was executed. At the same time, her young husband, Lord Guildford Dudley, was in the Beauchamp Tower. It's in the Beauchamp Tower. You can see over 90 inscriptions that the prisoner has been on the wall. The ones the ladies like to see are numbered 48 and 85, a very small word Jane, which is said to have been done by Lord Guildford Dudley himself. There are still over 100 people reside in the Tower of London. We are very fortunate because we have got our own doctor. That's the doctor's house. If he can't fix you, go and see the vicar. Who was at work today? He gets 4 weeks off in the summer, 3 weeks off in the winter, and he works 1 day a week. Look how far he's got to commute there. That's his front door there. She's going to walk from there to there. God, I've got to do something better than that. So she had to walk all the way around the green. And then back into the chapel. He thought he got his money's worth there. Right at the very beginning I mentioned 1,000 soldiers that were stationed in the Tower of London. That was a purpose-built barrack room. It now houses Crown Jewels. Entrance to the jewel house is underneath that clock. And as you can see, there's absolutely no queue at all. At the far side is the old officers' mess, which is our museum for the Royal Fusiliers. A regiment formed in the tower 1685. Going down the hill, of course, you've got the big staircase. Not only that beautiful chapel, well, it's full of armour of King Henry VIII, huge cannons, cannonballs, etc. On the other side of the White Tower is a cafeteria where you can get a cup of tea or death by English coffee and a sticky bun. Now once you've had your cup of tea and a sticky bun, you'll be looking for the toilets. The best ones we have are right to the very end of the Waterloo block. Turn left twice, they're on the right hand side. The executions. The first was in 1536, Queen Anne Boleyn. She was accused of adultery, witchcraft and incest. She was found guilty on all 3 charges, but she feared the block and the axe. By special permission, an executioner was brought over from Calais in Normandy. She knelt on the scaffold and she was beheaded with a double-edged sword. Right up to that moment, she thought she would have been pardoned by the king. There was no arrangements for the funeral, there was no coffin. In great haste, an arrow box was brought from the Broad Arrow Tower, and this is what she's buried in. 1541, Margaret Pole, the Countess of Salisbury, a lady, nearly 70 years old and innocent of all crime. It was her son Cardinal Pole who was in Europe preaching against King Henry VIII. The king did not like this. He ordered that man to return to England to be executed. He refused. So they executed his mother instead. That was dreadful, wasn't it? 1542, Queen Catherine Howard, the fifth queen of King Henry VIII. She was accused of having an affair with Thomas Culpeper. Thomas Culpeper was taken to Tyburn, better known today as Marble Arch, where he was hanged, drawn and quartered. The Queen was brought here and she said, "I die the Queen of England, but I'd rather die the wife of Culpeper." One blow of the axe straight off. A few hours later, her lady-in-waiting was brought out, Lady Jane, the Viscountess of Rochford, and she was executed for arranging the meetings between the two lovers and not informing the king. In those days, if you're going to choose a side, you had to make sure you're going to be on the winning one. It's only 12 years before the block and the axe was used again, this time on the slender neck of Lady Jane Grey. Brought to the Tower of London by her father Henry Grey, the Duke of Suffolk, and John Dudley, the Duke of Northumberland, her father-in-law, to be the Queen of England. But after those 9 days, the supporters of Princess Mary, the first daughter of King Henry VIII, they said that Mary was the rightful queen, and Lady Jane was quite happy with this. She just wanted to go home. But her father and her father-in-law realised if they did not support this new queen, they would be executed. And the best thing they decided they could do was put Lady Jane Grey in the house number 5 and Lord Guildford Dudley in the Beauchamp Tower. During the next 7 months, people were trying to get rid of Mary, put Jane on the throne. The Queen decided, right, we'll solve the problem. We'll execute them. So first of all, the 19-year-old lad had to walk along here, down the steps, along Water Lane, up there onto Tower Hill, where he was beheaded. The head and the body were brought back and placed at the outside of this chapel. The young girl, 17 years old, very calmly walks from the house number 5. She climbs up the steps to the top of the scaffold where she reads from the Bible, Psalm 51. The only time she began to panic is when they put the blindfold around her. She could not find the block and she cried out, "Where is it? Where is it?" I think it was her lady-in-waiting that took her by the arm, knelt her down, and she was gone. That was the saddest execution to take place in the Tower of London. There was one man executed here, Robert Devereux, the Earl of Essex, a very good friend of Queen Elizabeth I and a very fine soldier. But he was found guilty of high treason. He was to be executed on the hill, but because of his friendship, he was executed here in private. Isn't it nice to have friends in the right places? There were reasons for this. If the person had to be ridiculed, if there had to be thousands of witnesses, on the hill. If the authorities weren't sure, they'd lock the gates, build the scaffold, behead the person, get rid of the body, wash the area down. So now all we have left is the site of the scaffold. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're now going to go into the chapel of St. Peter ad Vincula. Gentlemen, if you are wearing headdress, will you please remove it? Unless, of course, your religion permits you to wear it inside. Please, no photography. Yes, sir, that's it. Yeah.
Oh.